hold your tongue. She was just a girl with questions in her eyes, lost in the echoes of a world full of lies. They tried to erase her, to silence her name, but the truth doesn't fade, it still burns like a flame. Can't you hear her crying in the night? Can't you see she's searching for the light? We can't turn away, we can't let this be. If we forget her, then who are we? If we forget her, humanity's lost. A soul left behind is too great a cost. She's more than a whisper, more than a fight. She is the reason we stand for what's right. Locked in the shadows, she's calling our names, begging for justice, for breaking these chains. They rewrite the stories, they cover the truth, but we stand together, we won't let them choose. Can't you hear her crying in the night?
Folks, thank you all so much for the love and support that came in for Julia when she did parts 1 and parts 2. In parts 1, she destroyed the authenticity of Operation Grange. It started out with that mesmerizing phone call whereby that snooty cop condescending, looking down on Julia, saying they didn't even have the pennies after spending millions to do a DNA test to get to the bottom of her claims. It must have took a lot out of you, Julia, the last time, the part 2, to relive those traumas. And we appreciate your bravery. And how have you been doing since then?
Thank you for this, and I'm fine. I'm totally fine. I was a little bit worried that I was too emotional, but it wasn't up to me. Like I was just very emotional because of the subject. And yes, and I think
your
I'm fine. And you?
people. Your emotion really moved people all the more.
I can imagine, because like it's like this, when you talk about things that you experience and these things are traumatic and hard, it's just hard to talk about. And it was very, very difficult.
Yeah, and everybody came to the conclusion that you deserve a DNA test. You deserve to know what your life history is, and that's all we're asking. People are saying that we're making fake claims and stuff like that. We're not. All we're doing is we are lobbying for you to get to the bottom of things. And to try and get to the bottom of things, you've done something pertaining to your acro, haven't you?
Yes, I applied 1 month ago. I applied to Acro Records to try. I was trying to find out if police have any information about me, any data, and this is what I got from them. The answer. How can I show it on screen?
Dear Miss Wandelt, Subject Access, Section 45, Data Protection Act 2018. I'm writing in response to your request for data that may be held about you on the Police National Computer, PNC. The Data Protection Act 2018 places an obligation on the police when holding personal data to provide a copy of that data to the individual concerned on request, unless an exemption applies. From the personal details supplied in your request, there is no data held about you on the PNC. ACRO does not have access to information held on local police systems. This document does not constitute a certificate of good character. Your disclosure is for personal use only. You are not obligated to provide this to a third party. Should you have any queries, please contact us in writing or by email using the contact details below. Yours sincerely, Squiggle.
How did you feel when you seen that, Julia?
I was like, what the hell happened here? I contacted police so many times. I went to police station in London. My DNA sample was taken, but not tested. Unfortunately, Operation Grange, as you could hear on the part one, I could hear the call with Operation Grange. Basically, the officer told that DNA will not be tested and wasn't tested. They're not going to test it. And I am not Madeleine McCann without any proofs. He said it. Yeah, and he threatened me at the end of the call. I think I should play this call again, just for people who maybe didn't hear it before.
Yeah, I think what we're going to listen to here is Julia's conversation with Operation Grange. Yeah.
Should I play it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Julia.
Okay. Sorry. Okay. Who's calling?
It's the police.
Ah, okay, police.
I'm a police officer from the Metropolitan Police.
Okay.
And I work on Operation Grange, the Madeleine McCann case.
Okay.
And we actually spoke, my name's Mark, we actually spoke a number of years ago.
Yes, 2022.
Yeah, you rang me when you were in a hospital.
Yes, I remember you.
Oh, good. So I told you back then that you weren't Madeleine McCann, but obviously a lot's happened since then. So I'm just ringing because I'm obviously aware you went to Leicester, to Rothley at the anniversary, and you also went to Charing Cross Police Station.
That's true.
Yeah, and they did a intelligence report just to say that you attended, and they took your DNA.
Yeah.
And then I know that you rang police again on the...
Yes, because I was worried because no one called me, and I was like,
Yeah, on the 31st of May. So obviously we have been following everything. We know everything that's gone on with you, and we...
I never lied. I never lied. I mean, everything that was said by this fake fraud Fia Johansson from USA wasn't true.
Yeah. Well, all I'm going to say is what I said back in 2022. You were not Madeleine McCann, okay? I know that's hard to hear, and I know you've been told this by many people, but you have to remember we've worked on this investigation for since 2011. I've worked on this investigation.
I know.
Yeah.
But did you get results?
Yeah.
Can you give me a copy?
Of what, sorry?
Of the results.
Oh, we haven't sent the DNA. It's not being tested.
Why?
We can't spend public money on something like that when there's no...
Okay, I don't understand this because they told me, okay, so why are you... Okay, can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Why are you saying without any testing that I am not Madeleine when I clearly can remember some things because I got flashbacks? And there is a person, and listen to me, please, don't hang up the phone. There is a person, okay, there is a person who claims, I don't believe in this, but he claims he's medium, and I didn't tell anyone about flashbacks that I have besides on one person from police. I didn't tell anyone, and he knows exactly where I was, and I remember being in basement, and I'm not crazy, and you can test me by psychologists, psychiatrists. I have depression. Okay, I have depression, but that is all. And I remember many things. And I don't know, how can you say that I'm not Madeleine without any testing?
Well, okay, so I know the person you talk about, he's a psychic, he's a medium, and we have lots of psychics and mediums contacting us. And there's no truth in what they say, okay? People are religious, they contact us. We know that you are not Madeleine McCann, okay? And you're not the first person. I had
but
an American girl who had actually a problem with her eye, and she had thoughts similar to you. It was very similar. She had some memories when she was a child, etc., etc. And she travelled from the USA to London, and we saw her, and we had to tell her the same thing, that she was not Madeleine.
But you got so many phones, and you can do the DNA test? Like, I don't understand, like, the reason.
Yeah, as I said, we are happy, we are satisfied, okay, and this is not just me talking, this is the team that work on this investigation. We are happy and satisfied that you are not Madeleine McCann. You are one of many hundreds of people, I'm going to say hundreds, who think they are Madeleine.
But what are you based on? Like, there was no DNA test.
I can't go into the details, okay?
But, sorry, I mean, with all respect.
Okay, it's an ongoing investigation. You have had treatment over many years for mental health issues.
Yes, I had, but every single person who would be even abducted would have problem with health. Like,
no, what I'm saying is that unfortunately, having mental health issues is not nice. It's not pleasant.
It's not nice, but I'm fine now.
Yeah, okay. If you're fine, then you need to accept that you.
But you didn't do DNA test.
Yeah, but you've got to accept that you've got loving parents and family back home.
What are you talking about? Okay.
They're your family, okay? You are not Kate and Jerry's daughter.
But you don't know this because you didn't compare my DNA with them.
Right, I do know from other investigations.
What is the other investigation? You didn't compare DNA.
Like I said, I can't go into detail.
Okay, but you didn't compare DNA, right?
I know, and that's why I'm ringing you. I'm ringing you to tell you that we're not going to compare your DNA, so you don't wait for an answer, okay? You have to accept, and I understand your reaction. I really do.
It's not about my reaction. It's about what I can remember. It's about the person who is medium knows what I remember, and I didn't tell anyone.
Yeah, I can't do it. There's nothing else I can say. I know there's nothing else I can say that will change your mind.
No, it's not about changing my mind. It's about fucking DNA. Sorry for my words, but my parents refused to do DNA. You don't want to compare my DNA, and there are many similarities. My abuser looks like a person from picture 4B, so I don't understand. You got 192,000 pounds for investigation, and you don't want to compare DNA of someone who says.
Okay, we follow set procedures, and it's very hard to explain how investigations work. But we are extremely experienced in this. You are not the first person. You won't be the last person who says they are Madeleine McCann. Okay, and we understand your reaction. Okay, we accept that.
But I'm still saying it's not about the reaction, it's about that you have no proofs against me, like nothing that would say that I am or I'm not, because you didn't check it. And this is unbelievable.
Right. There's no facts at all to say you're Madeleine.
And no facts that say that I'm not.
There's no evidence. So we go by evidence. There is no evidence to say you're Madeleine. Everything you've said, we have been able to disprove, okay?
But you don't know what I remember, and you even don't want to know. And what about my abuser?
You told us before.
No, I never tell. Listen.
There's been an investigation to disprove all the facts. Now,
Okay.
I've listened to you.
I didn't tell. Please, last thing. Can I say last thing, and then you can do whatever you want with whatever. I just want to say that I didn't tell about my flashbacks to anyone, and I started getting them since October 2023.
Yeah, okay. Well,
so no one knew. Yes.
You weren't Madeleine and you accepted that.
No, I never accepted that. I was still trying to.
You did. I made notes, and you said okay. Now I'm going to finish this call. We're not going to speak to you again, okay? If you ring the police again.
Because you. Okay.
Listen to me. One last thing. We will not speak to you again. If you ring the British police or you go to Leicester again, they will contact Any kind of contact will come back to us, okay? We are Operation Grace, it will come back to us. So it's pointless you making any more attempts to contact the British police.
Why?
Also, if you do go to Leicester again, and you do, you know, they are fully aware of you now, they know who you are, and if I mean, there's offences called harassment here. If you cause any harassment, you could be arrested, okay?
Is it blackmail? If I will go there, I will be... Yes, it is blackmail.
No, harassment's when you annoy someone.
I'm saying that you blackmail me now.
No, I'm not blackmailing.
It looks like, because I don't harass anyone.
I'm just giving you advice. Now, Julia, I'm really sorry to have to ring you like this. I know you don't...
No, because you just didn't check my DNA and you admitted this.
Yeah. And now I need to finish the call.
Okay. I will never give up. This is something that I want to tell you.
I love you, right? Okay, but you take care, yeah? You
Okay,
take care.
bye.
Bye-bye.
All right. So the reason we've replayed that phone call is to juxtapose it with the acro. You heard him, viewers. We're fully aware of you. We know who you are. He said that towards the end. At the very beginning, we know you're not Madeleine. Blah, blah, blah. We're kind of like implying that they've got this treasure chest of information about Julia, files this big about Julia. Yet, when we read the acro, let's go down to the pertinent line. From the personal details supplied in your request, there is no data held about you on the police national computer.
All right, so let me just throw this. How can someone be told that they'll know if you've contacted the police? Okay, so that has to be an official warning then. So you have been officially warned by the police that if you phone them again, X, Y, and Z will happen. So why is that not on the acro? Why does all of this feel super cloak and daggersy? Now, listen, we've got two locations. We've got the police ringing on this occasion. We've got the DNA test that's been officially set up by the police. We've got the national press about Julia, right? All of this should have some note and warrant on her acro. He's also said that if you phone again, they're going to know. There must be a public record. Am I not right in saying then, if none of this is officially recorded, none of this officially happened?
So the question is why police doesn't want to do anything with this case. Like, they spend millions of money and they can't do DNA test. They said they investigated me, like he said we know everything about you. So where is it? Where is this data they found about me? I wonder.
Sean, what are you thinking? And side chat, what are you thinking as well?
I'm thinking that every time Julia gets any communication from the police, it just shows what a inversion of reality this whole case is. Because on that lengthy phone call that we just replayed, he is reasserting over and over again how much they know about Julia. They've got this information, therefore she can't be McCann. But she's asked for the information. They've said they haven't got any.
I want to say, because someone commented, she doesn't have this distinctive and unusual pupil of her right eye. So I want to say, I have something in my eye. I will show it very soon. But I agree, it doesn't look the same. But we have to, like me and you, have to have on your mind, our mind, that it was possibility, like there was surgery, maybe. Like, we have to think about every single option. Like, if Madeleine's pictures with her eye, very visible eye mark, was around the whole world, what would be the first thing the abductor would do? He or she would have to hide it, because then someone would recognize her. This is my way of thinking. I don't know what Ron, Sean think.
I mean, there's definitely something in your eye.
Yeah, another viewer has asked if you've got any comparison photos.
I will, 1 second. Okay.
You know our girl Julia comes with receipts, yo. She comes with those receipts.
I have this thing, but it's still like I will show you the recording of McCann's interview when they said that they don't think it's coloboma, they think it's just a mark in her eye.
Keep zooming.
And
zooming.
what?
Keep zooming in.
Bigger,
Keep zooming in. Keep zooming
bigger,
in. That's
bigger.
it. Yeah, there you go. So, listen, all I'm saying, right, just exactly what you said. If there's organized criminals who are moving you and want to get rid of identifying marks, I'm pulling this next statement out of my backside to everyone that's listening, right? But have you seen those, like, eye tattoos, right, where they can drop pigment into the eye? I mean, could that have been something that happened? I'm just spitballing here because I can clearly see the fracture down your eye. It might not be as prominent as some of the pictures of Madeleine, but what I'm not an eye guy. Like, I don't know if.
Let's ask the viewers, Ron.
Yeah.
Viewers, can you see the discoloration, the unusual spot in Julia's eye? That's kind of streak. Put a 1 in the chat if you could see it. Put a 2 in the chat if you cannot see it.
And we're not saying to you, is it the same as Madeleine's? But is it there? I mean, I can see it right there.
I also can see it. And...
Viewers are saying they could see it.
Okay, so now I will show the recording when. So it will be audio. I mean, it's video, but okay. 1 second.
Madeleine had a very distinctive eye pattern. If you tell me about that, Kate, because people see somebody they think may be Madeleine. Tell me about her eye.
If I'm honest, we haven't put too much emphasis on her eye because I think you have to be very close to her to see it. But her eyes are slightly different colours, and one of them has this brown fleck in it, which you do notice, particularly on photographs. But
a slightly distinctive eye colours and a little fleck. And do you know if that would still be there if she's now 8 years old?
I certainly believe it wouldn't have changed. I think there's been a bit of debate as to whether it's the technical terms of coloboma or whether it's a defect in the iris. I don't think it is actually. I don't think it's actually just an additional bit of colouring. She certainly had no visual problems.
And if people see somebody they think could possibly be Madeleine, who should they call?
Call the police.
Fleck. He said a fleck.
Well, yeah, I see. Is a fleck not a nice way of saying a massive hole in medical terms?
Let me Google that before we jump to conclusions.
I'm here. I'm looking for one thing.
A very small patch of color or light. For example, his blue eyes had gray flecks in them.
Okay, got you. Because if it's a fleck, right, and not, well, because Madeleine looks like she's got like a tear through her eye, if you know what I mean. And you've got to remember, we've got limited images to work with of Madeleine where that eye is very prominent. And I just think if it's a pigment thing, you know, parents, you'll all know how sort of, how many changes your kids' eyes can sort of go through as they get older.
I know. Jen still thinks Ziggy's eyes are going to turn brown like hers, but she's in a dream world.
Yeah, dream world.
I have to stop you for a moment. Ron, I send you this thing to read, if you can read it. Either in English and then me.
Oh my God, are you sure?
Comment here from CPE. I had a freckle in my eye. I had it removed at around 9 years. Had she reached that age, maybe hers would have been removed too.
That's what I said before, that it was like possible to
Another one from
it.
T-Gon. I had a dark fleck as a child in one eye, and as I grew, it was still
Oh
there.
my God, hang on, everybody, hang on.
Hazel. Shape is same, but color different. Loads of people have had flecks.
Oh my God.
I have one. It changed as I was growing up, but I have it. That's from Elizabeth. DD says it's part of the eye missing. If it is a coloboma, it is a developmental issue spotted immediately at birth. And Lulu says you look very much like Jerry McCann. Did you send something to Ron on WhatsApp, Julia?
Yeah, yes.
Do you want to send it? Do you want to send it to me and I'll read it? Because
Me?
Ron's
I can send you.
disappeared. He's fallen off.
Okay, I can send you, but it's on Instagram. You would have to open it and read it from description.
So it's in the. You're gonna send it to me on WhatsApp or Instagram?
Yeah, WhatsApp. Can it be WhatsApp?
Okay. Yep. Send it on
Okay.
WhatsApp. Yep.
Good.
Yep. And I shall get
Send.
that read. Right. So that's going to open in Instagram.
I think Ron came back.
Ron? It's put up a
Yeah,
video.
Ron's
I've got a
back.
video. It's gone to a video, Julie, of Madeleine McCann's parents.
Yes,
going to
but
YouTube
click
money.
on the description of the video.
Description. Got you. Okay.
Yeah, I broke everything, Julia. Apologies.
No problem. I mean, I can read it, but my accent isn't beautiful.
Because it's in Instagram, it's not letting me open the description.
Yeah,
Okay,
you're
so I
going to
can
read
read
it, Julia.
Yeah,
Okay,
go
no
for it,
problem.
Julia.
Okay, a second. No problem, I can read it. Okay, so Pierce Morgan says, Madeleine had a very distinctive eye pattern, didn't she? Tell me about that, Kate, in case people see somebody they think may be Madeleine. Tell me about her eye. Kate McCann. If I'm honest, we haven't put too much emphasis on her eye because I think you have to be very close to her to see it. So how is it possible that it's very visible on her pictures if you have to be very close to see it? This is another question I have.
That's a good point.
But her eyes are slightly different colors, and one of them has this brown fleck in it. But you do notice, particularly on photographs, but slightly distinctive eye color and a little fleck, Morgan says. And do you know if that would be still there if she's now 8 years old? And Jerry McCann says, certainly believe it wouldn't have changed. I think there's been a pattern to be still there. That is, the technical term is coloboma, where there's defect in the iris. I don't think it is actually. I think it's actually an additional bit of color. She certainly had no visual problems.
So you've had a few questions come in. Some people want to compare the ears, the earlobes, and some people have asked if you've got a picture of.
I have somewhere a picture of ears, but I don't know. I would have to find it.
Do you have a picture of Madeleine's fleck? People have asked to see that.
Yeah, I think. 1 second.
Okay.
1 second. I'm not a very well organized person, you know.
Oh, you're doing great.
I'm trying.
Julia, a few people have asked if your parents have given a reason why they won't do the DNA.
Yeah, they say we know that you're our child.
That's the end of story.
Yeah.
Yes, that's all. Okay, so this is Madeleine's eye, and I know it was more visible than mine.
It's definitely, again though, right? We don't know how much contrast increase has been done on this photo to make identifiable marks more prominent, which you would do obviously in a case like this. And I see massive similarities to location, to size. Sure, color's a little bit different, but it's freakishly close.
That is freakishly close, Ron. As soon as you put that up, I had shivers because I thought it was going to be at a completely different angle or something.
Nah, it's literally
right there, isn't it? It's on the mark, and it's the same size, kind of.
I feel like somebody's
faded with age.
Oh, it's almost like someone smudged something over it, or it's faded exactly as you said. I think because it looks so much like a tear down her eye as opposed to being a discolor. Because I've always thought it was something that was discoloration. And no, it wasn't discoloration. It looked like a damaged eye. But if it's just pigment, then these things change. And then you see the Jerry and Julia picture, and you're like, okay, we need to get this hand into the hands of a criminal professional, like the police, okay? And then what?
Let me ask the viewers then. Can you put that picture back up? Can you put the picture back up real quick? So I wanted the
Madeleine one again.
I just want to do a poll with the viewers. So, viewers, were you as shocked as me? If you are, if you think that the size, the approximation, the shape, the size, the placement, not the boldness of it, because that may have changed over time, but if you think the size, the placement is the same, put a 1 in the chat. If you think it is a complete mismatch, put a 2 in the chat.
Someone said
Nice.
I have eye freckles and they change.
Yeah.
Yeah, honestly, this is just. I get more and more enraged at this and the way that everything's being handled every time we speak to Julia, like every single time.
I thought I was going insane matching that up in my own mind, but everyone else is matching it up as well, so that confirms that I'm not going insane.
Someone said that we should make an interview with Kate and Jerry. If they would agree, I can agree as well, but they would never agree because they even didn't reach me out.
Also, as well, Julia showed.
This is interesting. Sorry.
Yeah, Julia showed images of her eye earlier. At no point will we be asking any of our podcast guests to push their eye into their camera so that we can do our own investigation. You've seen evidence in images of Julia. We can have Julia put those images back up for you guys, but just understand the limitations of what's considered.
Yes, that's what I want to do. So a polygraph test is something that John Wedger advised to me to do. It will prove that I'm not a liar and I'm telling the truth, and I can. There is a possibility of choosing 4 or 5 questions during this test. Not sure, critical questions, and I will be able just to prove that I'm not a liar, and it will be a nice evidence, I think. So if I would be a liar, I would never agree for a polygraph test, but I'm not a liar, and this is what I want to do.
So that link's in the description box if you're watching the YouTube version. I've just put it in the live chat. And if you want to help Julia, and this was John Wedger's idea, you could donate to this fundraiser for Julia.
Oh,
listen, it's almost like if you say his name, he will be summoned. What's happening, John? We were just talking about you, my guy.
Hello, everyone. How are you all?
Good.
I'm fine.
Thanks for joining us. But it is an
now is the good moment to use my sentences, Ron and Sean.
Yeah.
Should I?
I spoke to Julia this afternoon about it. But if
I wrote a small note.
1 second, John. 1 second, John. On you go, Julia.
Okay. So imagine that you have 2 boxes. One box is full of your theories, and the second box is empty. And then take your theories from the first box and put these theories to the empty box. Close the empty box, please, and think like you don't know me at all.
Do you know something, right? When you investigate child abuse cases, usually whenever someone takes up an investigation, they're told to research it. The best interviewers are the ones who know nothing about the case. So with your box theory, you're pretty much bang on when it comes to investigating child abuse. They say the same thing. It's better that you know nothing about the case before you take it on, unlike any other form of investigation. But if we come back to the eyeball thing, if we look at biometrics, iris recognition is a valid part of biometrics. On facial recognition and things like that, the casino industry has used eyeball recognition for quite some time in certain casinos because it's seen as unique. So whether or not the UK do it, I don't know, as a standard scientific forensic thing, but there's nothing stopping an expert doing it at all. So even find out how much it is to get privately funded to get these and get a forensic statement done by an expert. But see, the police have the National College of Policing. So when you're investigating a crime and there's an area of exploration that you want to look down, for example, I had a case which was very complex. I needed an expert of mathematics to look at algorithms. Ordinarily, that wouldn't be available. But you go to the National College of Policing and you say to them, I want an expert on mathematics, and they'll get you one. There's experts on insects, on how people walk. So footprints are placed into like mud, for example. They call them podiatrists. The podiatrist can come and say, actually, this person's got a hip problem because the weight is pushed on one side and not the other. And they will, to the best of their ability and best in their field, will give a forensic opinion. So I think that is a good avenue for you to explore, Julia.
I think so.
No.
At this moment, I listened to your another advice, and I made fundraiser to collect money for a polygraph test.
Yeah, and polygraphs now, the police do use them. So when it comes to it, the law changed. I don't know when it was. I think it was around 2011 that when a paedophile is up for parole or early release or whatever, they're compelled on certain circumstances to take part in polygraph tests. If they refuse to do so, then of course nothing happens. But they are asked to take part. They've got, I think, something like a 99.6% accuracy. The Canadian police have used them for many, many years, and they've got a very similar judicial system. It's still under our royal sovereignty. So they've used them a lot. And you get these dissenters that turn around and say, oh, if you put a stone in your shoe and you push on it hard and all that. I mean, that's just base level nonsense. How they are now, they are so sophisticated that they're almost sort of infallible. So, yeah, go ahead. I think it's a good way of building your case. If the police aren't prepared to do it, then do it yourself.
John, before you came on, we read out the response from the police pertaining to Julia's acro. Are you familiar with what they've said?
I know Ron did discuss it the other day, but if you can go through it again with me, I'll see what I come up with.
Luckily for you, John, it'll only take about 45 seconds, mate, because they've got so much information, right? It's mind-blowing. Also, just to reiterate, John, in that phone call, that was an official police call, remember? That was an official call from a policeman, okay, where they stated that they knew where she was for the memorial. They knew where she was on another separate occasion. They officially warned her that if she phoned the police again, you remember all this, right?
Do you want me to read it to John?
If you can, because the
please,
print is very small from my phone.
All right, so I'm writing in response to your request for data that may be held about you on the police national computer. Data Protection Act, blah, blah, blah. And then the conclusion is, from the personal details supplied in your request, there is no data held about you on the PNC, Police National Computer. So they're saying that in the phone call with Julia, the cop clearly says, we know all about you over and over again. And now they're saying they don't know anything about her on the acro.
Let me clarify a few things. Right? So there's two systems that the police will use when they're checking someone out or they're recording something. On a local level, because it mentions about local things here, I don't know how many police forces there are. There's less and less now, but say there's 50 police forces. Each one will have their own industry when it comes to intelligence. And it's very rare that they share it. This is where a lot of problems occur. The PNC is like a national database. It's a police national computer. So if you are arrested and you're taken to a police station, your details will be entered onto the police national computer. If you are convicted in a court or cautioned, you're given what's known as a CRO number, a criminal reference number. And they tend to interact, the PNC. So the fact that Julia's not been arrested will probably indicate that they're right in saying that she's not on the PNC. What she should be on is she should be on the local police criminal intelligence, which in respect to the Met Police is called Crimint. There should have been a record placed on the Crimint about Julia's attendance because it is an intelligence report. Maybe a CAD, right, is created. So that's like computer-aided dispatch. So this is where you see in these control rooms where they're on the computer and they're directing cars and all that. That will interact with the PNC. So when you look at a CAD for an incident, you may well see a PNC report tied into it. Each force has got their own version of CAD, but they all work on the same premise. So what I said to Julia before was the way forward is freedom of information, subject access requests. And okay, you've explored it with PNC. That's a no trace. That's not unusual. CAD, there may be a CAD, Met Police on there. Crimin, there should, without a doubt, be a Crimin on there, a criminal intelligence report. And also, there should have been a line or two lines put onto the actual crime report, which is called CRIS, CRIS, the crime report for Operation Grange. That guy who spoke to you should have made an entry on there that you called, because it's a log. It's pertaining to that. So if he didn't, then he's not doing his job. He should have put a line on the CRIS system. And if it was me, I would have put an intelligence report on that you contacted them, because I think it's relevant.
See, I think that's
what they're doing.
Sorry, let me go.
Go.
How can Julia obtain these other files, these other records?
Freedom of information. Freedom of information. So we discussed it earlier. I'll look up, and it's been made a lot easier now. And if you don't get any joy there, if the police fob you off with saying that there's a whole selection of reasons why they can't give information, right? And initially they do that. They say, no, we can't give it to you because it's not relevant, or it's pertaining to sensitive information and everything else. You must challenge these things and say, no, I don't think you're right. And then if that doesn't go anywhere, we've got a thing called the Information Commissioner, and they're the adjudicator over freedom of information. So you take this argument to the Information Commissioner, and again, I did promise Julia that I'll get some details for her to look into.
So, John, can I just break this down into simple terms for my brain, right? So, do you think with the fact that it was Operation Grange and the size of the Madeleine McCann case, that it's surprising, because obviously you were talking about local police stations and things like this doing things one way and others doing it another? Would it not have been Operation Grange, which is a national team, is it not? Would there not have been some record of it all on the ACRO? Even, I mean, obviously the phone call should be there, which is, to be honest with you, enough to raise serious questions, because apparently you were given a warning on that phone call that if it happened again, you'd be done for harassment. So what are we talking about here, John?
But this letter specifically pertains to PNC.
Okay.
And with freedom of information, you have to be specific, because what we're doing now, we're entering into the legal world.
Okay.
And everything is compartmentalized and has its place, and it's all about specifics and ironing out ambiguities. They are not going to assist Julia if they can't help it.
Sure.
Where you've got to do it is to push them in the corner where they have a duty.
Sure.
To help and to deal with it properly. So this is what we're looking at. Yeah, I would have liked to have seen that conversation that we all listened to, with that officer actually being some assistance to her, but he wasn't. And you're right. It was a veiled threat.
John, I'm not trying to put you on the spot. So just what we can really say then is you're surprised that the phone call that Julia had wasn't mentioned on the ACRO at all. Everything else you can kind of understand why it's not there with regards to her case, the DNA and everything.
Yeah, I think if you make the freedom of information and make it specific to criminal intelligence, to the CRIS report, the actual crime report. It used to be a handwritten ledger, and now it's all on computer. And what used to happen was anything paperwork could easily be burnt or got rid of, but on a computer they can't now. Make it specific, and also the CAD, the CAD report. He may well have. I would have thought this officer would have covered his back. I think there will be a record. I think this is a seasoned old detective, and I don't think he's in any way a fool. But you know, when we look at the form here, the letter back, it says for personal reasons. You're not obliged to provide this to a third party. Well, they're just quoting what is, you know, their remit. But if it was for a court case or something like that, then the solicitors would write a letter saying, we want these items as part of disclosure. And if they don't give them to the solicitors, then you know, the courts can step in, a judge can turn around and say, well, how can anyone be expected to formulate their own defence if they're not provided with all the information? So you see many cases collapse because of disclosure. The police are notoriously bad at disclosure, and disclosure is all down to relevancy. What the third party is asking for has to be relevant. If it's not, then it doesn't get in. If it is relevant, then it does. I think Julia's argument.
I'm here. I just wanted to take a charger for my computer.
Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah, I don't think Julia's argument is one of relevancy.
So if we're talking, John, right, let's talk, you know, in the realm of cover-up here, right? Let's talk in the realm of why didn't they do the DNA? What was going on there? It's not surprising then that they would use any means in their sort of power to throw Julia off the trail, if you will. So the fact that they've left everything out, they've made it difficult. Do you think that's just the usual tactic?
Yeah. Oh, can we use cover up and police in the same sentence? Of course, I'm with you. There is a cover up, without a doubt. There is a cover up, and I've openly stated this on Sean's show and everything else. And the other thing we got to look at now is, and like we discussed on your show, Ron, right? Yeah. I don't know, but what if I was given information? Just what if that Yvette Cooper has got an unhealthy connection with the McCanns through some sort of social gathering, some adult social gathering? What if? Just what if? Not that I know anything, but why should I mention it? You know, Yvette Cooper is now Home Secretary. I think it's going to get worse and worse and worse. And now, you know, with King Sausage Fingers, I don't think you'll ever have any nationally sanctioned inquiries into cover-ups. So it's only going to get harder and harder. But you're right. If we were looking at fairness, what we would do, say I was a senior investigating officer and Julia kept approaching me, I'd say, okay, let's deal with this. Come in the spirit of fairness. We will take your DNA. We will compare it with the maternal DNA, which is something like 85 to 90% compatible. And that's it. So paternal DNA is a little bit less, but maternal DNA is incredibly strong. And that would clear it up once and for all. But they haven't
John,
done it.
It reeks, mate.
It does.
Like,
it does.
When that acro came back, it reeked of cover-up. It just reeks of, sure, maybe the information's in there. But you would think that if somebody was involved in the Madeleine McCann case, that got arranged a DNA, all of this, phone calls, threatens, we know where you are, all of this. The fact that there's no record of it, it just gives, it really starts putting a new level of conspiracy, conspirafact on this.
Well, Ron, we discussed this before. And if I am a parent, right? I'm not a mother, but I am a father, you know, and you know, I love my kids dearly. Now, heaven help, one of my children went missing in these circumstances, or these alleged circumstances. And then 20 years later, a man appears. He said, John, I think I'm your son. I would want to meet that person. I would want to look them in the eye. I'd want to smell them. I'd want to touch them. You know, I would want to do that. But they haven't wanted to do that.
And that's why I'm very interested in the reason why they run away from when I visited Leicester, like Ropley, and I went to the vigil, and they were driving along the street about 15 minutes before the vigil started, and I saw them, my friends saw them, and they didn't come, and I wonder why.
Yeah, and you know you've maintained your stance on this throughout, Julia, and you've been vilified by the British press. They have slandered you and
Yeah.
attacked you, and both Ron and myself, I think I can speak for Ron on this, that you know, we were polluted by the press, and then when we did speak to
Yeah.
you, we realised that you're not a crazy person. You're a highly intelligent, extremely articulate, nice person.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, that was it. I mean, you're completely right, John, because I had the complete wrong impression when we went into part one. And then I was like, man, I am a fool for being led by the media. And I wasn't even heavily invested in it. It was the passive headlines being shot into my brain. Do you know what I mean? That formed that opinion. It was well, but I mean, man, we've turned a corner now. Well, Julia, how are you feeling after all this? Like, what's going through your head right now?
So I think that my question is like, why did the mainstream media want to discredit me so hard? Like, what's the reason? If I am Julia, not Madeleine, then what is the reason? Why did they create me as a crazy liar for people, like the image of crazy liar? And this is like the main question in my mind. Like,
What do you think, John?
why?
Well, if you got to look at our legal system, it's called an adversarial system. So it's all based on calling the other side a liar. So lawyers will do that, the courts will do that, and say it's based on a battle and a fight, and that's what they do. I mean, I know our theories change and they alter, but I think we're all unified in the belief that the McCanns are covering up. And they're covering up under the veil of huge protection from you know, the very heart of our establishment. Well, actually, it goes further. It goes to the Pope. You know, it goes to the Prime Minister. It goes to the Crown. It goes everywhere. They're all covering up and backing them.
But someone said to discredit you because they are scared of what secrets you may hold. Okay, I understand, and I also have the same opinion, but still don't understand how is it possible that no one wanted to help me. Like, I contacted so many people, English police, Portuguese police, Polish police, Interpol, Missing People Foundation in UK, Missing People Foundation in Poland, and so many other people, embassy, and they all were like, go to local police, we can help you. And this is like too big corrupt for me, like so large. And the thing that Kay and Jerry didn't want to even contact me when I called their place of work, I called their friend, and I, like in the beginning of the journey, and I wrote many emails to Operation Grange, Campaign Madeleine, and nothing.
Well, if we look at the early days of Operation Grange, they were getting inquiries through. I think they got inquiries from 43 different countries. Each one has to be followed up. And these officers clocked up a horrendous amount of air miles and continue to do so. So it's not as if it isn't in the public interest to invest a small amount of time and money. And I think when we researched this on your behalf last time, we come up with a figure. I think to analyse DNA was £93. And considering they've been given something like £13 million, and they've clocked up this massive amount of air miles, each time a detective is deployed abroad, on top of their wage, they are given $110 in cash, you know, and sometimes, not so much now, but they used to travel business class because it was classed as work. So, you know, and then put up in hotels and things like that. It's a lot of money, which would easily cover the fee for the, and the DNA lab is part of what's called FSS, Forensic Science Services. It's already paid for by the Home Office. It does not come out of the police budget. If it was outsourced to a private company, it would come out of the police budget. But because it is a Home Office resource, it's already paid for. We paid for it in our taxes. And I don't think many people would object to the government spending that money. So, and the other thing we've got to look at, if your claims are what they are, Julia, you're a witness. You're a witness, a living witness to probably one of the biggest mysteries, murder mysteries, whatever, that's ever gone on in this country. And
That's a good point, John.
It may well change a huge narrative. Would they want that? I very much doubt it. I very much doubt it.
Okay, I don't know if I should say that based on my memories, I didn't share all of my memories last time because it was too stressful for me, and I'm not sure. I think I don't want to do this today as well, but I want to say that based on my memories, I'm not saying what exactly I remember, but based on my memories, I would say it would change narrative. Narration. Narrative? Narration? I don't know how to say it.
No, narrative. That's the correct thing. So how much do you recall? If we look at this from an investigator's stance, I mentioned this before. When you get evidence, especially with child abuse cases, you'll be very, very careful how you elicit that information, who you share it with. So evidence from a child should be like a field of pure white snow, and no real footprints on it. If there are any footprints, you need to account for it. And the more footprints on that snow, the more difficult it is for you to keep your narrative without it being attacked, because each set of footprints is an influence on you. Okay, so that there's a thing called the first account, the free-flowing narrative and the first account. And that's very, very important when a detective interviews a child. They need to know, who have they told? So if a child's in care and a kid at night starts splurting out, which is what usually happens, it's at night time, the kid will go up to their carer, their foster carer, or whoever's got placement for them if they've been taken away. And they'll say, look, I want to tell you, because night time's a dark, lonely place, and they need to unburden themselves and have a sense of safety. And what that carer should be doing, and what they're trained to do, is to write that down, contemporaneous notes.
I wrote down all of my memories.
And that's a good thing. And you must be careful who you share them with, because the more you share them, and the more, I know I did ask you a bit of an open question, what you remember, but the more you go into depth and share them on a forum, the more they can say that you've been influenced, you've been attacked. Therapy as well. So when a child is in the process of a prosecution, right, and giving evidence for the prosecution, therapy can't take place until that case is finished, because you get attacked by things like false memory syndrome, where they'll say therapy has sort of made you manufacture a story to make you feel more comfortable, or to fill gaps, to explain it. So if a child is going through therapy at the same time as through a trial, what their legal team will say is, stop therapy. Therapy must stop now. Otherwise, it will really, really damage the case. So that is evidence, right, that is firsthand, that is based on your experiences, okay? And what also needs to be taken into account are the variables, such as your mental health. Have you been a victim of any other abuse from other parties? Trauma, hospitalization, medication, other influences that the defense could use to weaken your case. All right, but it will come down to you standing testimony and giving verbal evidence, which is usually sometimes all you have, but it can be very, very compelling and very, very strong. To back that up is a circumstantial evidence, such as a DNA. The DNA, unfortunately, you have nothing to compare it with. If you had a lock of Kate's hair and you can prove it was Kate's hair and it was total continuity that it came from Kate, then there's a comparable DNA. Kate's DNA will be on the system, and it will. And when a child goes missing,
police officers don't want to test my DNA, so compare it to a case.
Well, what they would have done is the police would have gone and they would have seized the hairbrush that was used to comb Madeleine's hair. They would have seized the toothbrush. Now, now this is really interesting, right? Kate come up with this story. She knew that DNA will be on that toothbrush, right? And then she turned around and said all 3 children use the same toothbrush. Now, where have you heard such nonsense? You know, unless it's in a
Not suspicious at all, John.
No,
I mean,
madness, mate. Nothing to see here. Move along. You know,
nothing suspicious at all.
Yeah.
No.
But what we have got is we've got this iris argument that you've come up with. It's an avenue of exploration that needs to be looked at. It's an open door in the corridor of evidence that either needs to be gone into and then nothing to see then shut, or remained open and deal with it. And they're not. And this is the one thing, theories, variant theories apart, this is the one thing that really does trouble me. They are not exploring these avenues of investigation. The DNA, now we've got the iris. The polygraph test is a very, very good one. And I thoroughly encourage you to go down them lines. And there are some, if you look at the case of Samantha Baldwin, an incredible individual whose children are claimed have been unlawfully taken off her and bad allegations were made against her. She took a polygraph test and she attained the highest recorded level ever of honesty. And it goes a long, long way. So I'm sure we can find you a good bona fide, credible polygrapher that can do that work. And so I don't know what else that we can explore from that, but I would say for the time being they're good ones.
Yep. So
Yeah.
Julie's now achieved 15% of her goal in the Polygraph fundraiser.
There's something fishy going on. Just to summarize what you said, John, there's something fishy going on here, right?
Yeah, I mean, well, definitely in how she was treated, because
Yep.
if you recall the guy, he categorically states, "I know you're not Madeleine."
Yeah.
Well, what does he know to say that? If it's still an open missing person inquiry.
Well, one step further, John, right? How does he know that? And he's there unofficially, effectively, giving these warnings, telling them what they know, all the rest of it. But yet there's absolutely zero record of it ever happening.
Yeah.
I don't
They
get it.
lie.
Oh, yeah. To put it politely.
Why they lie? Because they know something. Because they might know it's me, or they might know that Madeleine is dead. For me, there are these 2 options.
Well, let's take away Julia and Madeleine from this completely for 1 minute and just look at £14 million. Do you think that there is a financial incentive to never solve this case, John?
Of course, and we went through this before, but I haven't got the statistics on me, but the average time spent on a missing person case by the police is something like 43 minutes, and the average amount spent is something like £2,000.
Yeah.
You know, so we have a comparison there, and these are stats that come from I think the National Crime Squad produce these statistics on missing persons, whereas you've got here, you know, an incredible amount of money which keeps getting centrally funded by the Home Secretary. Home Secretary after Home Secretary keeps pumping money to keep this thing going. And there's a whole industry in that there's permanent officers, British officers based out there. Let's get this right. The British police have no jurisdiction other than that of a family liaison capacity in this case. Nothing.
John, I think John was paraphrasing when he said 42 seconds. Don't directly quote him on that, but it's something ridiculous.
It's something like an hour and a half or something. It's a very small amount of time. that they spend on the average missing person case. But this one is such an anomaly on so many levels. And the other thing is, look at Kate McCann. She refused, I think, something like 39 to answer 39 questions, which were relevant questions. She refused to answer them. Well, what grade of a dysfunctional mother is she? She should have stood trial for child abandonment at the very least.
I'm not being funny, John, but if I was Kate McCann and there was nothing, you know, I genuinely didn't know what happened to my daughter, right? I'd be wanting to be grilled. Ask me the hard question, link me up to the machine. Let's just get this over and done with so that resources can go back onto where it needs to be. And, you know, Julia, John will make sure that the next stages of this acro, because I think we need to see what they're willing to hide under the Freedom of Information Act. And John,
Yeah,
like I said, John, you'll keep Julia right through this.
I've got a friend who's an expert on freedom of information. He puts them in on child abuse cases. He's an absolute bane in the government's arse, and he's good. He's good at what he's good. So I will make contact with him and find out exactly the process. I've never done one myself, but I know many people that have done them. They benefit. What we have to be careful of, Julia, is that we don't put you in a position where the McCann's class that you're harassing them, and then they can then take out legal proceedings and cause all sorts of horribleness to you. And
would that have to be direct communication with the McCanns and Julia's involvement directly to the McCanns?
Well, if you look at the wording, I think it can be direct or indirect. You know, it's the same when bail conditions are put on, no direct or indirect contact. But you've got to look at the definition, the wording of harassment, and you know, as long as you don't go down them lines, you should be okay. But the police will be look at what's happened in the UK recently, right? And Keir Starmer made this shocking statement, which is really a revelation in really what the thinking and the mindset of the government is, right? And he said no stone will be unturned. I worked on the 2012 riots. I did 2 years as a public order detective. I know how they work. They will have in-house barristers that will analyse all the footage and everything, and every person who took part. There'll be a time for another conversation, but everyone who took part in them riots, because of CCTV, they're in trouble. And they're going to end up remanded, like he said, and they will do. They'll end up in Crown Court. No one is going to get off with that. You watch it happen. And I'm not backing the government up. I'm against them.
Yeah.
But I know the tenacity they'll go to. Grange will be the same. They will have an in-house barrister, right, that they will go to for every single thing, because they would have had a lot of people that have claimed to have been Madeleine. They would have done, and would have made sightings that are false, or maybe they're genuine. But you know, there was this one. There were gypsies in Algeria. There were this, and it's just how people's minds work. But they will have a legal team that they will go to, and they will.
There you go, Julia.
If you violate, so that's I would say is priority. That Julia is kept safe, and the police don't get a sticky little paws on her and start cautioning her or putting banning orders on her or ASBOs or whatever the legal tool they might use. You know.
Well, sadly, Julia's opinion on it. Sorry, Julia. Surely it's freedom of speech, though, John, right?
Yeah, to a degree, but you know, the McCanns are still seen in the
Julia.
The British legal system. What I thought was victims here, victims that are, you know, not like the police in Judicial in Portugal have got them as suspects. We got them as victims, and they will be afforded victim status and the protection that goes with that. So, just
apologies there, Julia. Me and John have just went off on one. So apologies. What are your thoughts on that?
I just wanted to say that there was a sighting of Madeleine in a city where I lived almost my whole life. So it's in PJ5. It's Wrocław in Poland. You will probably read it as a Wrocław, but it's Wrocław. So there was a sighting, I think on 12th May 2007, but not sure. You can check it by yourself in PJ files, or I can check it and show
The
you.
whole thing.
Was a sighting of you or someone else?
Sighting of Madeleine.
Yeah, but were they? Do you think that they were referring to you, or another child?
No, they were referring to Madeleine McCann. That this person saw Madeleine McCann in the car, in the taxi, very luxurious taxi, and he said it wasn't taxi in the statement. Let me find it. I can find it. 1 second.
I remember
Julia,
that.
and also a few viewers have asked, what is the logic behind this polygraph test? What will it achieve? Where's this idea come from?
I wanted to ask, I mean, I will prove that I'm telling the truth and I will have evidence, but I wanted to ask John, because this came to my mind like a few minutes ago, how can I use the results of polygraph test if police from UK and Portuguese don't want to help me?
Yeah, I think as long as the credentials of the polygraph are good and they can prove that they are genuine and they've been used before, and you know they'll use them in things like insurance claims, for example. Insurance claims go into the millions sometimes, so it's quite a done thing, and it seems like a wise business choice that you get them in and ask people, right, we want to take. In America, murder suspects are instantly asked to take part in one. It's that it's not obligatory. They have to agree to it, but if they don't, an inference is drawn, and an inference is a common sense decision and an inferring of guilt. It's like every single murder suspect. So once you've got that, that information can then be tendered, a copy of that report, to Operation Grange. But again, we're being presumptive here. We've got to find out what the outcome is first.
To an extent, though, John, as well, for the people that think Julia's categorically lying, she's made all this up. If Julia's telling the truth about what she believes, surely that's going to prove to a lot of the people who think she's aware that she's making things up or whatever. Surely that's going to put that to rest.
Yeah, I mean, I've never dealt with them, so I don't know whether or not that they can go on fact what actually did happen, or what Julia believes happened. I'm not sure how they'll get to the bottom of that.
Yeah.
Usually that information would come from police interviews with Julia.
Yeah.
Sitting her down and doing what's called an ABE, an Achieving Best Evidence interview, and you'll be asked simple questions, which are open questions, and they usually tell me what happened, and then Julia, you would then explain what happened, and then it's the police's job to delve deeper, and then can you explain that? Can you describe that? Can you show me what you remember? And things like that. But we're dealing with something that was a long time ago. The age of Madeleine, I don't know, how old was she? 3, 4? I don't know. 4 years old. So long ago. So all these are factors that would have put the footprints on the snow, as I said. And then trauma will also cause that to have more footprints on. So it would be evidentially very, very difficult just to go on Julia's testimony alone. I think pretty much it would be in a negligible percentage that you'd get a conviction on whatever based on Julia's testimony.
But then, let's say that I would say something that would put some people in uncomfortable position. Let's say this. Would it be evidence if they wouldn't agree for a polygraph test to prove that they are right, not me?
Julia, I'm with you, right? And you're 100% accurate in what you're saying. I'm going to give an example of that. We just had a government inquiry called the IICSA, and it's the Independent Investigation into Child Sexual Abuse. There was a government-run inquiry which went on for about 8 years. Children were coming forward from children's homes and they were saying that they were picked up at night and they were taken to places and they were assaulted or hard by men, and they recognise these men because they've been on the telly, right? One of them being Savile, and many more. And I know that there's people I've interviewed, and I know that Sean's interviewed, that we haven't put the information out, but have alluded to the fact that members of the royal family have been involved, right? But we can't put it out there for obvious reasons. So that information is so damaging. So what the government do, they do a thing called bad character. So a lot of these young kids, infants, teenage boys, primary school age boys, whatever, have such a tough time and a dysfunctional time. They end up in crime, and they end up doing drugs, and they end up having to fund a lifestyle through crime, which ultimately involves dishonest crime, robbery and theft. Now, once you get convicted of them things, you go down as a person of dishonesty, right? The reasons for it don't come into it until it gets to the mitigation stage, but the early stages, their defense team will bring out, you cannot trust this person because they are a person of dishonesty. Now, when dishonesty is tendered in front of 12 members of the public, there's one word only that sticks in their mind: liar, 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 liar. And this is a legal trick that they will do, because they knew that if this evidence ever got out, it could collapse the royal family, it could collapse Parliament. And then what we saw happening, and we've seen this happen in the independent inquiry and many other inquiries, things like Dolphin Square, Elm Guesthouse, D notices are served, defence notices by the military intelligence units, because they can destabilise a country. Now, if we look at the McCanns, these are people that were connected to the epicentre of politics. They allegedly knew Gordon Brown's brother, Andrew. They may well have known Yvette Cooper, I don't know, unless more information comes to light. They're very, very well connected. And when people, like, we hear these allegations about Freemasonry, favours being brought in, you know, the police are swear to act without fear and without favour. If only they did that, but they don't. That's why these secret societies are there, because they will cover up and they will help out a brother in times of distress. And I think this is what's happened with the McCanns. I think these were brothers in absolute distress, and they knew things about people higher up the food chain, and they called in favours. So you're right. You're right. If your claims are true, you could cause a lot of damage.
Yes. They're asking about the authenticity of the cop who called Julia from Operation Grange. If you've heard that, does that strike you as an authentic call?
I think, I mean, he come across as a retired officer, but, you know, I don't know the guy, but he's been in that post for like 12 years or something, so he's made half his career, you know, shining a chair on Operation Grange, which used to be based at Hendon, in the big police building in Colindale. So I don't know whether they're there. I did know a guy that was quite high up in it, but I don't have any contact. But what is interesting with this thing you're saying about the twin is that how old would the twin be now, the twin girl? She would be old enough to make her own decisions, I would have thought. And we're seeing this with this case in North London that made the press, the huge case with the two children that made these really stern allegations of Satanism and all stuff like that. Now, one of the girl in that is now old enough to make up her own mind. There you go. So which one's which, Julia? All right. You're on the left and she's on the right, yeah?
Yes. Here she's on the right, I'm on the left. Here I'm on the right, she's on the left. And here she's on the right, I'm on the left.
I mean, you never know. She might even call out to you one day. You know, these people are on social media, I would have thought, and you know, like
I mean, one person sent me her legit TikTok and Instagram, legit because there were some videos and pictures of her that were never in public, like on media. And I reached out to her, but she blocked me. So.
Has she got the eye fleck?
Who?
The twin girl.
I don't know.
I don't think she has, but I mean, it's a big identifiable feature, isn't it? The eye thing.
You got.
Let's check.
See if we can blow it up, yeah, and have a look.
She looks very much like Kate, doesn't she?
Yeah.
You can definitely see Kate in there, but especially that picture there. Well, she's smiling, whereas Kate never smiles. So, yeah. I don't know. There's a similarity in the chin there.
Yeah.
So.
But you would share DNA, you two, if that's the case. So you never know.
But to check DNA, I have to have DNA of Kate or Jerry, and I don't have a possibility to compare my DNA with them because of cover up and police and them.
Right.
Cover up.
You got a question from Ingrid. How do you know it was really a policeman who phoned you?
1 second, because you can hear my
cats.
Okay, I know because he said on the first it was anonymous call, like a call, unknown user call, and then I know because first I think I spoke with Mark from Pershing Grange 2 years ago, and the other thing is that he said that I was on a police station, that I called police station on 31st May, and it was true. I called the police station, so he knew about this, so he has to be someone from police.
All right, next question is, what about those family tree things that you can do online? Would anything like that help?
Like I did a few ancestral DNA, and I talked about this in the first part.
All right, so Vanessa is asking, can you take a hair from relatives and get them tested or save for future tests?
The thing is that hair has to have a bulb like this thing here to have DNA. Like hair taken from like here doesn't have DNA, as far as I can know.
No, that's right. You need the root. You need the root.
Yeah, root.
I'll give this next question to John to speculate on. Could we get an interview with Kate and Jerry? I live not far from them. Do you think they're just on the legal advice not to speak to anyone?
They won't talk, will they? They won't talk to anyone. It's not going to happen. In an ideal world, wouldn't that be good? But I mean, they have given interviews, haven't they, to people like Piers Morgan and all that. They select their audience, right? And of course, when they do, what they didn't account for were people like Peter Hyatt, who made a career going through the transcript of the said word. And I think when Richard D. Hall carried out that, I mean, he's in court at the moment, Richard D. Hall. They're trying to destroy and deplatform him over the Manchester bombing thing. But, I think that it's just another way of getting back at him for that phenomenal bit of journalism that he did with Peter Hyatt. So Peter Hyatt's not the only one. There's another one who was an attorney for about 21 years, and he specialised. He comes up with very, very similar conclusions, and he just says that they're lying. They are lying, and it's. I mean, the British police have used it, but never officially. I used one in child abuse cases, a guy that was based in Southern Ireland. So I used to fly out to Southern Ireland with the interview transcripts quite a bit, and he would analyse them. I really rate them, but so I think that they'll be few and far between because they're worried about people like Peter Hyatt doing statement analysis on them.
How do you think? Why did they stop giving interviews? Like because they're scared?
And well, like Sean said, I think also there'll be legal advice. We don't hear much of them now because I think public opinion has totally changed on them. I would have thought they get a hard time through trolls and things like that. I don't think there's much positive public response to these two anymore. I think that's gone a long time ago.
I've just put my Peter Hyatt interview in the chat. It does get a lot of interest every month. It's at about 500,000 views right now. And I'll put it in the description box as well if people want to check that out.
I mean, Julia, that could be another avenue for you. Someone like Peter Hyatt. You know, if you record what you remember and what you recall, and he can analyze that and give his opinion on your testimony. I don't know.
What was the sighting of Madeleine McCann close to where Julia lived?
In the place where I live, like in the city, but I can't find it now on PJ Files. But I have somewhere the picture, like a screenshot. I will try to find it and I will post on my Instagram because I can't find it now. Like I can't find it now because there are many things on the side PJ Files. But I have a screenshot and I will post it.
Here's one for John then from Christine. What's a CAD report?
Right, a CAD report is a computer-aided dispatch. So it's the control room that used to be the heart of a police station. You would have seen it on the bill. There'll be a sergeant, usually 2 police officers and 2 civilians, and they will man the phones and will have computer screens. So when calls come in, 999 calls from Scotland Yard or from the emergency response or local people ringing up, they will say, look, there's a stabbing going on in the high street. They'll put it on, they'll create a CAD, a unique reference number for that incident. That CAD number will follow through the investigation. And as officers are dispatched, results are given, if someone's arrested, their name goes on, their PNC details will go on, so it all cross-reference. So when the incident is closed, the CAD is then closed, and then it's used evidentially as well. So it's an ongoing chronology of an event, and it's given its own unique report. But also, CADs can be created for near enough every single police response. So a CAD could have been created for Julia's conversation with this detective at Operation Grange. I would have thought it would have been prudent for him, considering the high-profile nature of Grange and yourself, Julia, to have created a CAD. But definitely there should have been a criminal intelligence report put on that you called, and there should have been an entry on the CRIS, the crime reporting system, the crime itself for the disappearance, abduction, whatever it's called, that would have had a crime number and a line. He would have been duty bound to have put an entry on that. So there will be a record of you, maybe not on the PNC, but you may find it on the CAD, and you may then, because you need to give the date, was a CAD created on this date for me, Julia, so-and-so, regarding my conversation with Detective so-and-so. And also do the same for the intelligence report.
Well said, and thank you, Shazza, for the donation. And have you got anything to add to that, Julia?
I want to show one thing because I got a picture with, as my parents said, me as a baby and my dad, and I want to ask you, how do you think my dad is older, because he was 36 when I was born, and I want to show you this and ask you honestly for your opinion, if you don't mind. So give me a minute.
Yeah, go for it. So the next question we're going to put is from Liz. Why was the cop on the phone just being extremely dismissive, like he's the master psychic? without granting the DNA test.
This is something that Ron and myself discussed at length. He knew the outcome, and he was incredibly dismissive from the. He even blatantly said this. I know you're not Madeleine. He said it, and
I will make it bigger.
Yeah.
How do you think he is here? How old?
Who is this? Your father?
It's my dad, and as my parents said, it's me, but he doesn't look like 36.
No, he doesn't. No, he looks in his 20s.
Could you make it a little bit bigger, Julia?
Yes.
Yeah, looks really young.
Yeah, he
So
doesn't
it can
look
be me.
36. Yeah. All right.
Okay, and the other picture I wanted to show you is, but not a picture of me, but just at the end, because we are probably finishing, so I wanted to show this one for those who didn't see it. And this one.
So you're saying the nose, the similarities in the nose, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, someone sent me this, so I just wanted to share it. My friend, actually.
There's a few similarities, isn't there?
Yeah, I can see it in the nose.
And these are the marks that I shared with Madeleine. For those who didn't see it before.
Have you got a photo comparing your eye with Madeleine's eye?
No, but I showed my eye and I showed Madeleine eye a moment before you came to the live.
Yeah.
Fleck.
The fleck, yeah. So
and the most interesting is 1 second. This. It's not visible on the first side, like here. The same scar. It's not visible when you look at this, just like
yeah,
I was a photographer, like in the past, like it was my another passion. And I know that retouch and editing is two different things. Editing picture is when you can change lights, shadows, and something like temperature, and it doesn't affect picture. It doesn't change the texture or anything. But when you retouch, you make skin more beautiful or whatever. But when you just change lights, shadows, contrast, it can show you things that were hidden before, and this is what I found. And you can check it by yourself if you want. If you can see it, I can see it. I don't know if you see it here in circle.
Yeah.
So that's what I wanted to show you.
So the next question then is from Nans. What about the Portuguese police? Could they be holding any forensic evidence?
I would say that'd be a good point of call, because I think they probably have got. I don't know what their protocol is in the UK. DNA is taken upon arrest. It used to be on caution and conviction, charge and caution. Sorry, that's the only time. But then they changed the parameters in about 2004 or something, where it was on arrest. You have to give DNA. You'll have to check what their protocol is. Back in this year, whatever this year was, did they take DNA from all suspects, which is what they were? They were suspects. So, and if so, there's a comparison DNA database there that maybe the police judicial in Portugal will take your DNA and compare it.
So
I was thinking about writing a letter to Portuguese police.
We've got another DNA question from Fred. Is the Madeleine McCann DNA on a hospital birth file if that happens, such as a heel prick?
No. There is no requirement to take DNA at birth. It's a legal tool. So no.
All right. Next question is,
I mean,
why?
blood type. There might be a blood type on her file, Madeleine's blood type.
April's asking, why is Julie having a lie detector test? Surely the McCann should be doing that first.
No legal
I don't know why they
requirement is
didn't.
there.
And what do you think, Julia?
I think I don't know why they didn't do the lie detector, but I want to do the lie detector test to prove that I'm telling the truth.
We're being asked whether your parents would come on and be interviewed.
It's a question for you, Sean.
Well, that would be, you know, we'll discuss.
No, I'm just kidding. Sorry, I'm kidding. Because it was Sean in the beginning. No, I didn't ask my parents if they want to join us, and I asked them for DNA so many times since 2022, and well, they refuse. They don't want to.
And do your parents speak good English?
I don't know. My dad, he had one interview, a job interview in English, but it didn't go well. And my mother knows English, but I don't know if she can speak.
So it would be difficult for anyone to interview them in English, probably.
For my dad, for sure. Mother, I'm not sure. I don't know.
Okay. Well, next question is from Mr. Balding. John, are you aware of Brent Stellander's investigations?
No, I don't know who he is. If they can elaborate, is he some sort of independent guy who's looked into this? I don't know. I've never come across him.
I've not.
I know who he is. I heard about this. I think he's a detective who wrote a book, Sudden Impulse, or something like this, about Madeleine McCann case. This is all I want. This is all I know, sir.
Juanita is saying Madeleine wasn't a baby when she went missing. Wasn't she a toddler? So that photo of her with that dad is false.
It's my picture of my dad at Madeleine's death. I don't understand the question. Sorry, I'm very tired. It's like 10 p.m. almost.
Oh, it's okay. That was the last comment for me to read, Julia and John, and we're almost at 2 hours. Have you guys got anything you would like to say in conclusion to the viewers?
Yeah, I can say something. Actually, I think I will just say what I feel in my heart. So, to all people who think that I'm a liar or I'm doing this for fame or singing, whatever, I have to say that I started singing, I don't know even when. I sing since I can remember. And singing was always a part of my life, so that's why I put videos of me singing on social media, and it has nothing to do with the case. When I had Instagram called I Am Madeleine McCann, I promised to people that I will not post there any music video, and I didn't do this. If I would do this for fame, I would post there any music video of mine. This is the first thing that I want to say. The second thing that I want to say is that I'm not a liar. I'm not crazy, and that's why I want to prove it by taking a lie detector test. And I want to ask you for like opening your eyes a little bit more if you can, because it's not possible that my DNA was taken, but they don't want to test it. Like, why would they take it without the intention of testing it? Why would police officer threaten me if I'm not Madeleine? Or like, what are they scared of? Like, why did he call me and tell me these kind of things? And how can they know that how can he know that I'm not Madeleine McCann without DNA? These are the questions for public, for you.
Yeah, well said. Anything you'd like to say in conclusion, John?
Yeah, I think you're going about things in the right way. You're doing it in a very transparent and open fashion. That's the best way to do it. So the worst thing I would want is that they try and have you for harassment or something like that. Just be very careful. Do everything by the right due process with no malice, and it should be okay. And hopefully, we'll see what comes of it.
Thank
All right,
you.
I will let you guys go and I will close the show. So thank you for spending time with us this evening. Cheers, guys.
Cheers. See you later.
Bye.
See you.
Cheers.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye. So, thanks for all your questions. Thanks, mods, for maintaining order. And if you haven't seen parts 1 and 2 with Julia, they are also in the description box. Take care wherever you're watching the world. Until next time.
She was just a girl with questions in her eyes, lost in the echoes of a world full of lies. They tried to erase her, to silence her name, but the truth doesn't fade, it still burns like a flame. Can't you hear her crying in the night? Can't you see she's searching for the light? We can't turn away, we can't let this be. If we forget her, then who are we? If we forget her, humanity's lost. A soul left behind is too great a cost. She's more than a whisper, more than a fight. She is the reason we stand for what's right. Locked in the shadows, she's calling our names, begging for justice, for breaking these chains. They rewrite the stories, they cover the truth, but we stand together, we won't let them choose. Can't you hear her crying in the night? Can't you see she's searching for the light? We can't turn away, we can't let this be. If we forget her, then who are we? Can't you hear her crying in the night? Can't you see she's searching for the light? We can't turn away, we can't let this be. If we forget her, then who are we? If we forget her, humanity's lost. A soul left behind is too great a cost. She's more than a whisper, more than a fight. She is the reason we stand for what's right. No more silence, no more pain. We won't let them hide her name. Raise your voice, take a stand. Hold her story in your hands. If we forget her, humanity's lost. A soul left behind is too great a cost. She's more than a whisper, more than a fight. She is the reason we stand for what's right. If we forget her, humanity is lost. A soul left behind is too great a cost. She's more than a whisper, more than a fight. She is the reason we stand for what's right. Tonight, if we